Hello everyone, Darren from DrayTek Australia and New Zealand. When deciding which DrayTek equipment to install for a network, it helps to be aware of what's available in the range so that the best items are selected. Things to consider are the type of internet connection, the number of users on the network, the VPN requirements, and many other factors. In this video, I'll go through the DrayTek router product range and features to help with the selection process. First, a little background information about DrayTek. DrayTek Corp is based in Taiwan and was founded in 1997. Over 55% of its staff are involved in R&D to develop new products, as well as add new features. DrayTek products are now available worldwide in over 100 countries. DrayTek is a manufacturer of networking equipment and management systems. The company has a huge commitment to R&D and develop their own kernel codes for router products. As a result, they're able to continually develop new features and improve their products. In addition, DrayTek listens to customer feedback for product improvements or new features, responding quickly to provide them, as well as bug or security fixes when required. Okay, let's take a look at the DrayTek product range. The DrayTek product line includes XDSL routers, broadband routers, LTE routers, access points, gigabit and PoE switches, as well as software like Viga ACS3 that can be used to manage these devices. For system integrators looking after a large number of customers, Viga ACS3 provides a console from which up to 5,000 devices can be easily managed. DrayTek router product lines include enterprise-level firewall security, mission-critical VPN facilities for small to medium businesses, as well as for SOHO users, that's small office, home office. Most industry-standard VPN protocols are supported at no extra cost with no licensing fees required, and these include PPTP, IPsec, L2TP, SSL, OpenVPN, and WireGuard. The products are versatile, supporting XDSL and Ethernet broadband applications, and have the benefit of wireless LAN as well as VoIP functions built in. DrayTek also have a range of router products providing LTE connectivity. This includes routers that provide connectivity through a supported USB 4G modem, as well as routers with built-in LTE hardware, which just needs a SIM card to connect to your favourite service provider. As you can imagine, these LTE routers have several applications. A common one is the provision of internet services for tourist buses. We've had several transport companies using DrayTek to provide free Wi-Fi access for their customers. An advantage of using a DrayTek LTE router is that while the passengers can be given unrestricted access to the internet, the user management and hotspot portal can be used to prevent unauthorized access by people outside the bus. In addition, firewall and content filtering rules can be used to protect users from undesirable website content, which is especially needed for underage passengers. Another common example is the provision of internet services for outdoor events such as sports or weekend markets. Again, as in the previous example, the hotspot portal can be used to control access to the internet or direct users to the event's landing page website. At the same time, you can use the firewall features to control access. Another application is to provide temporary internet service for a mobile office. Here, users may require VPN access over the LTE connection to their main office for sharing data and company resources. VLANs can also be set up to isolate workgroups if required. Higher-end routers have a number of features that are worth mentioning. These are DrayDDNS, WAN load balancing, hotspot web portal, VPN. Up to 32 VPN tunnels are supported in the Viga 2865 series and 50 tunnels in the Viga 2927 series. We also have bandwidth management, firewall and content filtering, along with central AP management and central switch management. Dedicated hardware in higher-end routers enhances performance for NAT and routing connections, quality of service, and IPsec VPNs. The hardware accelerator chip takes the load off the CPU so that the router performance is greatly improved. Usually, the CPU handles all traffic and sessions going through the router. The hardware accelerator can process up to 8,080 connections, delivering a much greater improvement in network speeds. With dual WAN connections, the router can achieve up to 1.8 gigabits per second combined throughput with hardware acceleration enabled. Hardware quality of service greatly improves processing of high-priority traffic such as VoIP. And with hardware IPsec, the first 16 IPsec VPN tunnels are handled by the hardware accelerator, with the remainder being handled by the CPU. When a VPN tunnel is disconnected and removed from the hardware accelerator, the next tunnel being handled by the CPU is automatically moved to the accelerator. DrayTek also have a range of access points that provide business-grade features such as airtime fairness, band steering, AP-assisted roaming, as well as many others. They're available in 802.11ac or 802.11ax Wi-Fi 6 versions. The plug-and-play meshing is a handy feature where up to 8 access points can be set up as a mesh network to cover a large area. DrayTek Vega switches are available in both PoE and non-PoE versions. They have enterprise-level security features, voice and surveillance VLANs, and quality of service. The Layer 2 Plus switches have additional Layer 3 features such as VLAN routing, static routing, and a built-in DHCP server for each VLAN. DrayTek also have 2 management software packages available. Vega Connect is a free download and can manage up to 100 APs and Vega switches on the same LAN. Vega ACS is subscription-based and allows remote management for multiple LANs and a much larger number of devices, including routers. If you'd like more information, check out the recent webinar series we produced explaining the features and how to use them. And DrayTek have free apps available, including a VPN client with versions for Windows, iOS and Android, the DrayTek Router app, which allows router configuration using a smartphone, and the DrayTek Wireless app, which allows setting up and managing wireless networks. Okay, let's take a look at DrayTek's product classification. To make things simple, DrayTek have classified their products in 3 categories to suit different customer requirements. At the top we have the enterprise level routers, which are suited to small data centers or larger organizations. The Vega 3910 is our flagship router that can handle up to 500 simultaneous VPN tunnels, as well as having a WAN throughput of 10 gigabits per second. Next we have devices for small to medium-sized businesses. These are multi-WAN routers which also have USB ports which can be used for LTE connectivity using a USB modem. There's also models that have the LTE modem built in, which only needs a SIM. The Vega 2865 and 2927 are the current best sellers in this space. The key difference between the two is that the 2865 has a DSL port and an Ethernet WAN port, which makes it suitable for all connection types, while the 2927 has dual Ethernet WAN, so it won't work for fiber to the node or fiber to the building connections, which require a VDSL modem. At the bottom we have the Soho and Home category. These are single WAN routers and they can also provide LTE connectivity by plugging in a supported 4G dongle to the router's USB port. Now let's have a look at the naming conventions for DrayTek routers. By looking at the model number you can tell what type of router it is and its features. As shown in this chart, there are 2 broad categories of routers, XDSL and broadband, which relate to the type of WAN interface they have. These categories can be further broken down to single WAN, dual WAN, quad WAN and modem router. The additional letters after the model name indicates any advanced features the router may have. For example, V means VoIP, L means the router has a built-in LTE modem, P means PoE, AC means it has 802.11ac Wi-Fi, and AX means it has 802.11ax Wi-Fi. So if we look at the Vega 2765 VAC model, from the chart we can see it's a single WAN router and it has an XDSL WAN interface. The V indicates VoIP and the AC tells us that it has 802.11ac Wi-Fi. Similarly, with the Vega 2135 AC, we can see it's a single WAN broadband router with 802.11ac Wi-Fi. The Vega 2865 LAC we can see falls into the dual WAN XDSL category. The L means LTE, so it has an integrated LTE modem, and AC means it has 802.11ac Wi-Fi. Let's take a more detailed look at each of the router series. At the bottom of the range we have the Vega 1XX series. These routers have a single WAN VDSL2 or ADSL2 Plus interface and are often used as a bridge modem. These are low-cost routers with a minimum feature set that are suitable for applications where no advanced features are required. The Vega 167 is shipped in bridge modem configuration by default, so minimum configuration is required when connecting a VDSL service to a higher-end broadband router. Next we have the Vega 27XX series. These are also VDSL2 and ADSL2 Plus compatible routers, but have more advanced features. These routers also allow you to have a backup WAN connection, which can be through an attached USB 4G modem. Also, one of the LAN ports can be configured as an Ethernet WAN port, which is handy if you move home and find yourself with a different type of NBN connection that doesn't use VDSL. It also includes firewall options, 2 VPN tunnels, as well as many other features. The next model up is the VIGA 28XX series routers, which includes the VIGA 2865 series and the VIGA 2866 series. These are dual WAN routers with both a VDSL2 ADSL2 plus WAN interface and an Ethernet WAN interface. The VIGA 2866 also supports G.fast. These have more advanced features than the VIGA 27XX series routers. For example, all the WAN connections can be load balanced, and you can have up to 6 WAN connections in the wireless model. Those are VDSL or ADSL, Ethernet WAN, Wi-Fi WAN, that's both 2.4 and 5 GHz WANs, and USB WAN via an attached USB 4G modem. 5 LAN ports are available, but WAN 2 can be configured to be a LAN port, so you can have 6 LAN ports if the Ethernet WAN isn't needed. Also, up to 32 VPN tunnels are supported. A variation here is the LTE router range. These routers have a built-in 4G modem and a dual SIM card slot, which will accept SIM cards from any of the major broadband service providers. There are a number of advantages of using these routers compared to using a USB dongle. The main one being that there is no compatibility issue with unsupported USB modems, and there is no double NATing issue. Most USB 4G modems have built-in NAT which cannot be disabled, and this can cause problems for incoming VPN connections. Although DrayTek have now developed a way to overcome this by using their VPN matcher service, which is free by the way. If you'd like more information about it, just go to the videos tab on our channel and search for VPN matcher. These routers now support Category 6 LTE, which means they can achieve 300 megabits per second downstream and 50 megabits per second upstream traffic. Also, the 4G and 3G bands in Australia and New Zealand, as shown here, are supported. The LTE antennas are detachable, so it's possible to attach outdoor antennas similar to this one. Just keep in mind that DrayTek don't provide these, and it's a specialised area, so you'll need to shop around for a third-party supplier. Moving to broadband routers, these are routers that have an Ethernet WAN port for the internet connection. The VIGA 21XX series routers are single WAN routers, with the current model being the VIGA 2135 series. Many of the features are similar to the VIGA 2765 series routers, including support for 2 VPN tunnels. These routers also allow you to have a backup WAN connection through an attached USB 4G modem. Next we have the VIGA 29XX series. The model shown here is the VIGA 2927AX. These routers are dual Ethernet WAN routers with up to 5 LAN ports, and they have similar features to the VIGA 28XX series routers, including the ability to configure WAN 2 as a LAN port, so you can have 6 LAN ports if that second WAN isn't needed. It also supports up to 50 VPN tunnels. These routers also allow you to have additional WAN connection through an attached USB 4G modem or Wi-Fi WAN for the wireless routers. That Wi-Fi WAN can come in handy to connect to a phone's wireless hotspot if you need a temporary internet connection in an emergency. All of these WAN connections can be either in load balance mode, backup mode, or a combination of those. As with the 28XX series, there's also models with integrated LTE modems with dual SIM card slots, and LTE speeds of up to 300 megabits per second downstream and 50 megabits per second upstream are supported. Moving to the enterprise level routers, the first one is the VIGA 2962. This is a dual WAN broadband router with up to 4 LAN ports, which can be configured to be either LAN or WAN ports, keeping in mind a maximum of 2 WAN ports are allowed. It also has an SFP port to allow a fibre module to be installed. This router has a throughput of 2.2 gigabits per second. Features are similar to the VIGA 2927 series, but it can support up to 200 VPN tunnels instead of 50. The top of the range enterprise router is the VIGA 3910. This is a higher spec model of the VIGA 2962. It has 8 Ethernet ports which can be configured to be either LAN or WAN, and 2 10 gigabit SFP ports to allow a fibre module to be installed. Up to 8 WAN interfaces are supported, which can be load balanced or configured for failover or both. This router has a throughput of 9 gigabits per second, and it can support up to 500 VPN tunnels. For those of you who are interested, there's a product comparison chart on our website, a pretty handy tool for comparing various features side by side. You'll also find videos for almost all of our products on our YouTube channel. Just go to our main page at the end of this video and scroll down to find playlists for our product reviews, how-to videos and more. Okay, let's take a look at a few router selection scenarios. When selecting a router for an installation, there are a number of factors to consider, beginning with the type of internet connection, which could be VDSL, broadband, satellite or LTE. Also, the speed of the connection will be a factor, so if you have a 1 gigabit fibre connection, you'll need to use a higher performance router that can provide the throughput, which in this case will be one of the enterprise grade routers, such as the VIGA 2962 or 3910. The chart here shows some of the selection criteria, including the number of VPN connections. It's also worth noting that the number of users in the network will also determine which router is suitable. For example, if there are 50 users in the network, you'll need to select a router that can handle that number. So the VIGA 2927 or 2865 routers will be the starting point in that scenario. So here we have a company with 5 branch offices that require LAN-to-LAN VPN connections to the main office to share resources. At the same time, we have up to 20 remote users on the road or working from home who will need to connect to the main office over a dial-up VPN connection. There will be 20 full-time staff located in the office, and each requires network connections for both their PC and IP phone. A Wi-Fi network is available for laptop users as well as visitors. For the Internet WAN connection, the company has a gigabit optic fibre connection as well as a VDSL line to be used as a backup as well as load balancing. So how do we decide what equipment to select for this one? Looking at the requirements, we have a gigabit WAN connection, 1 VDSL connection, and up to 25 VPN connections. So we'll need at least a dual WAN router capable of handling at least 25 VPN connections. We also need to cater for 20 PCs and IP phones, as well as the office equipment, so we'll need 2 24-port switches, one of which will need to be PoE to power the IP phones and access points. Looking at the performance comparison chart I showed you earlier, we can see that there are 3 possibilities for the router: the VIGA 2865, 2927 and 2962. However, since we have a gigabit fibre connection, the choice narrows down to the VIGA 2962, since while the other 2 routers have gigabit Ethernet WAN interfaces, they don't have the throughput to handle a gigabit fibre connection. Also, since the VIGA 2962 doesn't have a VDSL WAN interface, we'll need to use a VIGA 167 in bridge mode to interface the VDSL line to the VIGA 2962 Ethernet WAN port. So the equipment selected for this scenario is 1 VIGA 2962 router and 1 VIGA 167 configured in bridge mode for the VDSL connection. For the office network, we can use 1 VIGA switch G1282 for the PCs and office equipment, and 1 VIGA switch P1282 to provide network connectivity and power for the IP phones and the VIGA AP1060C access point. For the remote users dialing in, DrayTek have the free Smart VPN client if you prefer a uniform application for ease of support, but almost any VPN client will work. Here's another scenario. Here we have similar network requirements as in our previous example, but in this case the VDSL line is the primary connection and the backup will be over LTE. In addition, 5 access points are required in the warehouse, and these are required to be set up as a meshed Wi-Fi network. Looking at the requirements, we have a VDSL WAN connection for the primary internet connection and an LTE WAN connection as a backup. The router also needs to handle up to 15 VPN connections. So we'll need a dual WAN router with LTE capability, which can also handle at least 15 VPN connections. We also need to cater for the 20 PCs and IP phones, as well as the office equipment, so once again we'll need 2 24-port switches, one of which will need to be PoE to power the IP phones and access points. Looking at the performance comparison chart, we can see that the VIGA 2865 series router will be suitable for the application. In addition, it's recommended to use the VIGA 2865 LAC router since it has an integrated 4G modem. As mentioned earlier, there are a number of advantages of using the LTE routers. So the equipment selected for this scenario is 1 VIGA 2865 LAC router, which will also be the wireless mesh route for the 5 VIGA AP903 access points, which will be mesh node devices. For the office network, we can use one VigaSwitch G1282 for the PCs and office equipment, and one VigaSwitch P1282 to provide network connectivity and power for the IP phones and the VigaRay P903 access points. Of course, if you get stuck and you need advice, you can always email or phone our sales staff. And we've reached the end of our presentation. To summarise, we first looked at an overview of DrayTek and the product lines available. Then we looked at router product classifications and the naming convention used for each model type, and looked at some details of each of the router products. Finally, we went through 2 scenarios where we considered which products to use for particular applications. I hope this presentation has been helpful. Okay, that's all for now, but please stay tuned. We'll be answering questions in the live chat on the right of your screen for the next 5 minutes. For more information about DrayTek products, please check out our website at www.draytek.com.au, or send us an email to sales@draytek.com.au, or give us a call on 02 9838 8899. Don't forget to like and subscribe below, and if you'd like a notification anytime we put up a new video, please give the bell a click too. Thanks, and bye for now.